Thank you for having me again. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure to be back here among such dedicated and impressive advocates of cultural diplomacy. I spoke to the Institute in November of last year about the need to encourage and support pluralism throughout the Middle East. None of us could have predicted back then the speed with which the political situation in North Africa and the Middle East would change. And none of us can now predict with any certainty how the political landscape may look in the months to come. But amidst uncertainty, we here in this room have an opportunity to reassert the values we hold dear, that cultures are enriched by their relationships with others, and that culture, sport, music, and art can and should cross borders and boundaries. I am the chairman of Iman, an organization that seeks to bring together religious, cultural, and political figures from different perspectives, in the hope that greater understanding can lead to greater cooperation, which can in time lead to meaningful friendships. Through my organization, Iman, we lead political and cultural delegations to parliaments, churches, synagogues, schools, and mosques all over the world. Our aims are simple: to promote interreligious and intercultural dialogue. Why? To challenge extremism, to promote mainstream voices, to build friendships, and promote peace. I have led delegations of UK politicians to Berlin, Cairo, Beirut, and beyond. On such trips, we spend time with as many representatives of different faith and political views as possible. It never ceases to encourage me that the message from religious and political leaders is one of hope, compassion, and peace. A few months ago in Cairo, I met with Christian Coptic leader Pope Shenouda and the Grand Mufti of Egypt, Dr. Ali Goma. Both of them said that there is no room for hatred and extremism in Christianity and Islam, respectively. These are the moderate voices we should promote. And yet, we face the grim reality of extremism and violence on almost daily basis, whether it is the carnage brought to streets of Iraq or the threat of an attack that looms over our European cities. So what role can cultural diplomacy play in stemming this tide of anger and hatred? In my view, it must work alongside the strategic and political efforts involved in combating extremism. I truly believe that cultural diplomacy through exchange is an essential element of this vital mission. Whether it is through excellent institutions such as the ICD or through organizations like the British Council in the UK, the enduring ideas of pluralism, tolerance, and democracy are amongst the noblest and most beneficial concepts ever to have taken hold in our societies. And yet, they remain alien to millions of people. People who are denied the right to vote, denied the right to express themselves, denied the right to blog, to think, to argue, and to question. We have seen in recent weeks the extremities of what can happen when people decide, as one, that they want change, that they want their freedoms. In the world today, we can share classrooms, we can share ideas. We buy and we sell in the blink of an eye, and yet we devote more of this extraordinary potential to increasing convenience in our own lives than we do to helping those who feel forgotten by the 21st century, left behind as the rest of us moves forward faster and faster. In the parts of the world that we need it most, the internet is either non-existent or restricted by the state. This creates a knowledge deficit and denies millions of people a very modern right, the right to engage with the world around them. All of us here today have a duty to support and encourage the free movement and exchange of ideas, not just goods. We must speak up when we see nations holding back the potential and the hopes of their people. We must encourage free market economies and inclusive modern schools. It's from these foundations that pluralism grows. Pluralism tackles extremism. It opens economies. It provides information. It encourages tolerance. It frees us from the past, and yes, it can free people from the present. Human development is key to stemming, reducing, and halting the growth of extremism. By human development, I mean development in education, political freedom, internet access, and economic growth. I believe in the power of dialogue and the power of connecting people around the world. Social media has played a remarkable role in the spread of organized discontent in the Maghreb, and it has given peaceful protesters a sense that they are not alone, that their efforts are being watched and supported by people all over the world. Meaningful dialogue, in person and online, between different cultures and different people can break down barriers that otherwise divide and isolate people. We have seen the organizing power of the internet in recent weeks. Social media was not just a tool on the ground in North Africa, but it also ensured that the world was watching. Imagine the possibilities that could unfold in this organic, real-time medium was used not just to organize, but to connect, to educate, to debate, to engage. When we discuss the idea of cross-cultural engagement and intercultural dialogue, we must not make the mistake of thinking only in terms of country-to-country relations. In the UK, diversity has shaped and benefited British society for decades. But in many cases, different cultures and different religions failed to interact with each other in a beneficial way. UK Prime Minister David Cameron made a speech in Munich a few weeks ago in which he criticized the previous approach to multiculturalism. I know that you are having the same debate in Germany. Mr. Cameron is right to distinguish between Islam and Islamism. Islamism is a perverted, twisted interpretation of Islam. Islamism must be challenged in Europe. All too often, the benefits of multiculturalism, and there are some, are drowned out by news stories of intolerant Muslim schools or nationalist backlashes from extreme political groups such as the British National Party. These fringe battles have clouded the real issue. How do we encourage immigrant communities to engage in wider society? Immigrants in Britain must learn English. Immigrants in Germany must learn German. They must integrate and as full citizens and develop as modern British identity or a modern German identity, a European identity. Those who live in the West, in London, in Berlin, who say they believe in democracy when they speak English, but incite religious and hatred violence when they speak in Arabic, must feel the full force of the law. Clearly, these people don't know what democracy is. Democracy is not just an election. It is the freedom of worship for all, human rights for all, freedom of expression and association, pluralism, the participation by all parties in government. That is what democracy is. London is a wonderfully diverse city. It is one of the reasons why I and millions of people feel at home there. It is a city that teems with different cultures and communities. Diversity is good, but more must be done by everybody to promote integration. We must see more from progressive mainstream Muslim leaders, of which there are many, and we must do two things at the same time. Make it easier and more beneficial for immigrants to engage with British society and stand up strongly to vested interests and organizations that promote a philosophy totally alien to the values we all hold dear. Only then will we be stronger and live in safer communities. Rather than funneling money into supposed Muslim or Asian causes, the UK government would be better off focusing on ways to bring people together, not to remind them of their differences. Sport can produce equality on the playing field that is difficult to create elsewhere. Art can elicit creative and emotional responses that care not for ethnicity or religion. Shared experiences can lead to shared values. This is the agenda that we promote here today, and this is the agenda that I would like to see a little more of in the UK. We must see more from progressive mainstream Muslim leaders who are always calling for a common message, a message of hope. And married with this, there must be a wider appreciation of the need to forge greater friendships and relationships between the peoples of this world who do not hide behind terror and violence. Western government must support mainstream Muslim writers, entrepreneurs, philosophers, human rights activists, journalists, publishers, editors, and civil society leaders. The bonds of common interest are stronger than the voices of division. If we use all the passion and technology at our disposal, then far from alienating or offending different cultures, we can, in fact, bring them together. To learn from each other, to understand one another, to celebrate together, and mourn together. I know that I am preaching to the converted today, and I am moved by your passion and dedication. I would like to associate myself and my colleagues with your efforts and with the noble aims of this conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Al-Assad.
You're
We'd be
welcome.
happy to take any questions or comments. Please, as always, if you could stand up, introduce yourself, and then keep your questions brief. That would be great. Thanks.
Hi there. Hi there. My name is Amitai. I'm from the United States. So I obviously agree, like you had said, you were preaching to the converted, and obviously agree with what you're saying about the need to empower progressive, particularly Muslim leaders, but all religious leaders really who are more progressive, more, I guess, liberalized. And obviously that's a very idealistic statement. But I do believe that idealism can be made practical. But I'm just wondering how you think you can empower those progressive, those progressive, those more Western thinking, maybe Muslim leaders particularly.
Yes, I would like to give you an answer to that. I think for the past year we have been doing a lot of work, and we have had, as I said, delegations that visited Cairo, Lebanon, and Berlin, and other places. We have spoken to moderate Muslim leaders, and all of them have high positions. For example, the Grand Mufti of Egypt, also the Mufti of Lebanon. All those people are always calling on peace in the world. They're calling that there is 99% of common things that we have together. So why do people concentrate on the 1% of hatred or differences? But the problem is that those people are not given, the chance to be heard in the media, because as you know, the media all around the world they don't think that those kind of moderate voices sell, and this is what's very unfortunate. So we have to try to be able to bring, the media together, try to convince the media and other people out there that this is what people need to hear today. Like a lot of people who live, for example, in Britain and in Germany and in Europe, a lot of Muslims, young Muslims, they don't know who they should look up to. So a lot of times when they open, for example, a TV channel like Al Jazeera or others, they only hear of Osama bin Laden or al-Zawahiri or Qaradawi. But these people are nobody. Nobody really, they don't represent the majority of Muslims. They represent a very small minority. But unfortunately, as I said, the Muslim youth who live here, these are the only people they listen to. So they think these are their leaders, their religious leader.
Let's take a few more questions, and we can maybe take a few at once. We'll start maybe in the front, and I'll go to the back.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm also from the States, and I was wondering if you could just elaborate a little bit more on maybe finding a balance between similarity and difference, because the two are related by being opposites in a way where in one context you only hear about differences, but in another context you only concentrate on similarities. But to ignore that there is difference implies that difference is something that's bad or something that doesn't create a vibrant and energetic and productive society. And you could go to an extreme where we were talking about how do you not create this kind of sterile gray zone, as I think you mentioned, by removing or ignoring any existence of difference. How would you kind of handle that, or maybe you disagree?
No. Yes, of course. Yeah, please go ahead.
I want to take maybe two more. I think you were first, and then you.
Hello, my name is Lawrence. I work here at the ICD. And I would like to know, how old are you? And what is your goal?
Okay, one more question, please.
Hi, my name is Anna. I'm from Canada. You spoke about integration. I'm not 100% sure of this, so forgive me if I'm mistaken. But from what I know, the government of Syria is actually led by a minority group, ethnic minority group. So how could you speak about integration when I believe your own country is being governed by a government that actually seeks to let in the majority? And also you spoke about human rights. Well, actually, Syria is the last place or one of the places that does not respect human rights. From what I know, you're related to the president of Syria. So if you come here and you speak to us, why don't you, speak to the president of your country and to someone in your family about, the situation in Syria before you speak to us? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question too, but I'll let you respond to that first.
Yes,
Okay.
I'll respond to yours first. First, I just want to make things clear. I've been exiled from my own country when I was 9 years old, with the whole family. Yes, the president of Syria is my first cousin, unfortunately. But and we've been calling for, democratic changes for a long time, for years. And we have been warning that, you're right, a minority could not govern a majority for a long time. This is crazy. This is why you need democratic changes. And people, the problem is that the actual government in Syria always play the cards of telling the minority Alawites or the Christians and other, they tell them, it's either us who are going to stay in power or either you're going to have the extremist Muslim Brotherhood, which is not true. There's a minority of Muslim Brotherhood, but the majority, for example, of Sunni Muslim or others are not extremists. And they should stop playing this card. This is why we call for democracy, because only through democracy people would be protected under the rule of law. And this is very important, where all, and Syria is as I said many times, it's a beautiful mosaic of people. You have Christians, Muslims, Jews. Muslims, you have Muslim Shia, Muslim Sunnis, Alawites, Ismailis, Druze. You have the Kurdish people, you have the Turkmen, the Sharkas. You have so many, different people in Syria. And of course, those people, the only way to have those minorities protected is under true democracy. And this is what I wanted to make clear to you. So I know a lot of people think that because he's my cousin that, that we are, and I've tried, I've been trying, if you read in the media and other places, we've been trying, we cannot talk to, I'm not going to talk to someone, we are with dialogue, but they're not going to talk to us because they think that anybody who calls for democracy and freedom is a threat to their regimes and to their interests. So the only way to talk to them is through the media, through institutes like, where I'm speaking today and other places. That's the only way to send them messages, and hoping for them to understand. But unfortunately, they're not understanding. And this is very sad because we might see very soon an outcome, like it happened in Tunisia and Egypt. But the problem in Syria, as I said, with all those different minorities and others, it won't be as easy or as smooth as it happened there. And we don't want that to happen. We don't want blood to happen in Syria. We don't want a situation where it would be more similar to Iraq, for example. I hope I answered your question. And to the gentleman, thank you. I'm 36, but I think, you think that I'm younger. It's very flattering. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Tori. And to the lady regarding differences, of course we all have differences. Everybody is different. We have different cultures. We have different, but we shouldn't see those differences as a negative. We should see them more as it's something beautiful that we have differences. For example, the way we have different food, different music, different. This is what enriches us. A country like, for example, Germany or the U.S. or others, they are built and they are very strong and they're powerful and they're beautiful because they have all those different, different people who live together, who share a lot of their cultures. They're not just isolated. But the problem is, as I said, there's always minorities in each side. It could be, Christians or Muslims or other, who always try to promote those small differences and make them, into big issues and try to say that, concentrate on those issues to create more hatred between people. And this is why we should always try to come together, and bring us, and let our message always be heard, to our voices, to all the media and people out there that we are here all together and they have to listen to us. Unfortunately, we speak a lot. We go to a lot of, it could be institutions or other conferences, but nobody hears about what we have to say. It stays in this room, or it goes a bit on a few different websites. But where else does it go? Have you seen, any other major television channels or, newspapers or media that comes and covers what we know when we talk about such important issues? Thank you.
I think we have time for maybe one or two more. I saw there was a hand over here, please.
Hello, my name is Karib from Indonesia. Actually, I'm inspired by the ladies from Canada when she said that you, instead of promoting these ideas of Islamic liberals and the ideas of Islam is also democratic, have a democratic values too. You have to talk to your president and all of that. And I think there are 2 points that I wanted to say. It's that it's kind of like weird when you say like you're saying that you're talking about the Muslim people, but for me, I don't feel that you are representing all the Muslims in the world too, because I think there are still gaps between Muslim countries too. For example, like Syria and Indonesia. I mean, instead of speaking or send the message to the international community, but also you have to consider that you also have fellow Muslims in other part of the world. You also have to bridge the communications between Muslim countries too. I mean, for example, if you're talking about Samuel Huntington said the clash of civilizations, but at the same time, Dieter Henges also said there are clash within the civilizations. I mean, that's one point. And also, the second part, I think, if we look back to the international politics, like in the 60s or 70s, I think the Muslim community in international level, I think they have the more stronger connections from like non-alignment movement and also like the Arab leagues and everything. But it seems it's not connected anymore. I mean, I don't know about your opinion about this. I mean, it is better if you also send a message to international community, but also don't forget your fellows.
Sorry, you are part of. I mean, Indonesia and all are part of the international community. I never said that I represented Muslims. I far away from that. I'm just speaking as a Muslim. And as I think that many Muslims do have the same thoughts. Many Muslims that I meet in Europe and from the Middle East where I travel have the same thoughts. I said many religious Muslim leaders also share the same thoughts. I never said I represented any. I'm far away from representing all Muslims. And regarding why don't I speak to my cousin, as I said, I've been exiled, and if you could help me speak to and to get sense into him, you're welcome, and anybody else who could find a way. I mean, he's also welcome in here, and so I think that helps. And I told you, as talking about Indonesia or when I talk to Muslims, I talk to Muslims all over the world, and when I call on the international community, Indonesia is part of the international community, and all the world these are the countries that I'm calling on. Not just calling you by, I think your meaning is Europe or the West or
I mean like only the Middle East.
No, not only the Middle East. I really mean the whole world. The whole world needs to wake up, and we need to have those moderate voices, for Muslims all around the world. My friend here and my colleague, he's British, but he's from Pakistani origin, and we are doing the same work, and we're trying to reach people also in Pakistan and in Bangladesh and other countries. We're not just specifically talking about, Syria here. I have two organizations. One of them is the Organization for Democracy and Freedom in Syria, which is specifically for Syria. And the other one is Iman, and Iman is to promote dialogue, interreligious dialogue, and intrafaith dialogue, so between Muslims themselves. As you know, there's a lot of problems between Muslims themselves until today. They still talk about, the caliphate, who should have come after the Prophet Muhammad and who should have come. And I mean, who cares? Who should have come after him and who should have been the caliphate after him? Today we live together. This was like 1,000 years ago. I mean, this was political differences. What we have in common is 99.9%. That we have God in common, that we have Prophet Muhammad in common, that we have the Quran in common. Then whatever else is said, like Abu Bakr or Imam Ali or the Prophet said this or said that. I mean, how could people, today if you take a recorder and stay with someone all day long and try to record whatever he says, you can't keep, I mean, how could they have 7,000 hadith, for example, of what the Prophet says? I mean, this is crazy. I mean, how could Muslims, educated Muslim think that, like, his wife had nothing else to do but sitting and recording that he said 7,000 things? And he wasn't sitting at home all day long, There was wars, and he was going to spread the Islam religions and all of this. So this is the things that we should concentrate on and start working and make our brains work a bit, and stop just saying this is what the Quran said, and this is what this said, and this is what this said. We don't want to misinterpret anything, I think when God sent us the Quran, He sent it for us to try, each person to try to understand what he can from it. Why do I need to go to some person, sitting in a mosque or somewhere, to ask him, could you please explain to me what's written in there? He could explain to me also. Each person has his own level. I could read something now in English and understand it in a way, and you can read it and understand it in a complete different way. So we're not going to fight together and kill each other because you understood what's written on this paper differently. Thank you.
I have a related question, maybe as a final question. Since you are the head of Iman, this organization, many of us, I think, look at faith very often as something that tends to separate and tends to actually be the root, or sometimes maybe misinterpreted as the root of certain problems. How can faith also serve as a bridge, let's say, between cultures, using art, music, etc.? Do you see that potential in faith? I mean, and I'm assuming you do, since you have this organization, Iman. How can faith actually help the situation in terms of strengthening bridges, as opposed to just dividing the situation?
Because, as you know, we always say faith is very important. First, we have to understand what's faith. The belief. We all believe in God. I mean, or some people don't even, but it's a free choice. But for the people, for example, that have religions, Christians, Muslim, Jews, whatever, the main message, that God sent religions on earth is to have us live in peace, to try to respect each other, to live together. Not steal from each other, not to kill each other. I mean, it's just laws, for people. To be able to live together without hurting each other. So people should not take things much further. If God knew, I'm sure that it's going to happen. What's happening today in the world, people killing each other over religions, I'm sure he would. He wouldn't be very, very happy. And a lot of people are, would agree with me that this is, that's something that we should all fight together. And we should all promote interreligious and interfaith dialogue, which is very important for us to be able to live together in this world, which is becoming very smaller and smaller. Now with the internet, with all the flights, with everything, who could have imagined? Years ago that we could have gotten so far today. So we should really forget about the past and concentrate on our future. Thank you.
Okay, the final question. Okay.
I want to add on one more thing. Mevlana, whose birthday we celebrated in 2007, he was an Eastern philosopher and poet. And he also is the one that's known with this young people dancing in white outfits. I don't know whether you have seen it, Mevlevis. And he said something, "Come whoever you are." Meaning that you are all equal. You are the same to me. I don't think we should forget that. The more we talk about the politics, the more we are afraid of the Islam as a religion. I'm afraid the point we have come to is a point of separation, and we should look at the other way around. And thank you for all you have said.
You're welcome, man. Thank you very much for everything.
All right, let me take this opportunity as well to express my gratitude to you, Mr. Al-Assad, for having traveled here today to be with us, to share your reflections on some very important aspects, ranging from different parts of the world, different aspects also of our cultural identity, faith, etc. And I think we really all benefited very much from your comments. So please join me in a very warm thank you for Mr. Al-Assad. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.